The three reasons that Altuve did not use a buzzer. It's old news. Most people don't believe it anymore. And I'm not trying to convince anybody, but I don't know, I just decided to make a video about this, and hopefully this video is for the greater good. And what I mean by that is, there was a Danish philosopher named Soren Kierkegaard, and Kierkegaard says that you need to, I'm not going to pretend to understand Kierkegaard. He was an amazing person, amazing writer, philosopher. But he said that we have to let go of the aesthetic and transcend into the ethical, which means that you let go of your sensory perceptions and do things for the greater good. And most heroes are known by, you know, the one thing they have a love and passion for. And Altuve, of course, is known for baseball, and he has a passion for baseball. So we are going to be talking about the three reasons that Altuve did not cheat. Once again, bring it up again. And point three will be overlaying with the philosophy of Soren Kierkegaard. So, number one, data shows that the other members of the Houston Astros in 2017, not 18, not 19, 2017, for 4 months of the season, were participating in a trash can banging scandal. And data shows that a lot of the players, with the exception of Tony Kemp, Brian McCann, Josh Reddick, and Jose Altuve, were actively participating in it. Some players had up to 150, 175 bangs on their pitches, which is wrong. But the reason all of this happened, the overlying reason, is there was a 40-year-old man named Carlos Beltran who was basically the mastermind of this, who had been in the league for 20 years, and who had kind of orchestrated everything and tapped into the minds of these young players like George Springer and Carlos Correa and Alex Bregman, and influenced them. And young people can easily be influenced by things like hope, change, and schemes, and not realizing they're being lured into something wrong. And in your 20s, you know, you do things that you won't do in your 30s. And so Carlos Beltran should have known it was wrong. But anyway, that's going away from my point, which was kind of for a second video or a second point, that literally Carlos Beltran influenced some of the young players to participate in this. And as we know, the White Sox, Dodgers, Yankees, Red Sox, and several other teams are also, I think also the Seattle Mariners and a couple other teams too, were under suspicion. And really, it's not just about the Astros, but let's move on to the point of this video, which is about Altuve. Data shows that on all of his pitches, there was only 24 trash can bangs. So unless you have a reading comprehension problem, you basically are not going, you are basically going to understand through reading that he was not actively participating with his permission. Number two is that unless you have a listening comprehension problem, there was a first-hand account by Carlos Correa. And Carlos Correa actively said from his first-hand account that Altuve played clean, that he was livid when people would hit that trash can during his at-bats, and explained it. So unless now we have a reading comprehension problem with some people, and then we have a listening comprehension problem with some people. And number three is that, hold on just a moment. Number three is when interviewers said to Jose Altuve, Jose, we heard that you didn't participate in the trash can scandal, he would cut them off. And he would say, I know what you're trying to get at, and I appreciate that. So he knew that they were implying that he wasn't participating and trying to let him have an answer to clear himself. But this is where Kierkegaard comes into play. Like I said, a hero is known for one thing. thing. And a hero does something not for the aesthetic, but for the ethical. And so he transcended this moment into the ethical. And I find him to be very spiritual, religious, philosophical, and transcendent. And that's why he's my hero. But he transcended into this moment where he literally did it for the greater good of the team. So those are the three reasons that you can clearly see that Jose Altuve. If I'm not trying to convince anybody, I'm just trying to make my statement clear that it is crystal clear that he did not participate, even given the chance, because the person that I was speaking to made the argument that when he had the chance to clear himself, he didn't, and that's why I'm using the Kierkegaard example. And you guys know I pay attention to Jose Altuve a lot, so the reason he's my hero, my baseball hero, is because he does have a very philosophical, religious, transcendent hero mentality about the whole thing. He can see the big picture, even when I can't see the big picture. And so I thought that it was very interesting that the philosophy of Kierkegaard and his ethics kind of intersected or coincided at this moment. It was really, really interesting. But the reason he didn't answer that interviewer's question that way is because he was doing it for the greater good of the baseball team, to get them back winning again, which is what he really wants at the end of the day. Anyway, that's my video. Once again, I am not claiming to understand Kierkegaard. It's extremely complicated, but I just noticed that point about him. And so anyway, that's my video, and take care.